In a bold move that is sending shockwaves across Africa, Togo has taken a decisive step toward reclaiming control over its natural resources. Just days after signalling its intention to join the Revolutionary Alliance of Sahelian States, AES, comprising Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, the Togolese government, through its Ministry of Mines and Energy Resources, announced a temporary suspension of mining permits for mineral exploration and research. This bold move, described as a strategic pause, is not merely a bureaucratic adjustment but a clarion call for a new era of economic sovereignty, environmental stewardship and equitable resource governance in Africa. It aligns Togo with the transformative vision of the AES, a bloc that is rapidly reshaping West Africa's geopolitical landscape and challenging the entrenched influence of Western powers. As Togo positions itself to join this alliance, it stands to bolster the AES's strategic reach, particularly by providing access to the sea, while further destabilizing the economic community of West African states, ECOWAS, an organization increasingly viewed as a relic of neo-colonial control. This development, coupled with the rising tide of African assertiveness led by figures like Burkina Faso's Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Mali's Colonel Assimi Goïta, and Niger's General Abdourahmane Tiani, marks a turning point in Africa's quest to redefine its destiny. Togo's decision to halt the issuance of mining permits is a deliberate and assertive step toward reforming a sector long plagued by exploitation and mismanagement. According to the Ministry of Mines and Energy Resources, the country's mining code, first adopted in 1996 and revised in 2003, is woefully outdated, failing to meet international standards for transparency, environmental protection, and equitable profit sharing. For decades, Togo's mineral wealth, phosphates, limestone, and potential deposits of gold, uranium, and other critical minerals has been extracted by foreign companies, primarily from the West, with minimal benefits accruing to the Togolese people. The profits have largely flowed out of the country, leaving behind environmental degradation, displaced communities, and a legacy of economic dependency. The Togolese government's strategic pause is designed to address these systemic inequities. By suspending new permits, Togo is signaling its intent to overhaul its legal and regulatory framework to prioritize local benefits, protect ecosystems, and ensure that the exploitation of its resources aligns with the national interest. The Minister of Mines and Energy Resources has emphasized that this reform aims to create a rigorous legal framework that will attract responsible investors while ensuring fair profit sharing and safeguarding the environment. This move is not merely administrative. It is a declaration of economic sovereignty, a refusal to continue serving as a resource colony for foreign powers. This decision comes at a critical juncture, as Togo's mineral sector has been a focal point of foreign interest, particularly from Western companies seeking to secure supplies of critical minerals for the global energy transition. Phosphates, a key component in fertilizers, have been Togo's primary mineral export, but the country also holds untapped potential for gold, uranium, and other strategic resources. Historically, these resources have been exploited under contracts that heavily favor foreign corporations, with minimal reinvestment in local infrastructure or communities. The suspension of permits is a direct challenge to this status quo, signaling that Togo is ready to renegotiate the terms of its engagement with the global mining industry. Togo's move mirrors the bold actions taken by Burkina Faso under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, whose revolutionary policies have set a new standard for resource nationalism in Africa. Since assuming power in September 2022, Traoré has spearheaded a radical transformation of Burkina Faso's mining sector, particularly its gold industry, which is the country's largest source of export revenue. Burkina Faso, one of the world's top gold producers, has long seen its mineral wealth siphoned off by multinational corporations, with foreign companies like Canada's Barrick Gold and Australia's Resolute Mining reaping massive profits, while the Burkinabe people languished in poverty. Traoré's government has taken decisive steps to reverse this trend. In a series of sweeping reforms, Burkina Faso has nationalised at least 2 major gold mines, revoked permits from foreign companies deemed non-compliant with national interests, and introduced a new mining code that increases state ownership in mining projects and demands higher tax payments. These measures are designed to ensure that Burkina Faso retains a greater share of the wealth generated by its resources. Traoré himself has been unequivocal in his stance. "We know how to mine our gold, and I don't understand why we're going to let multinationals come and mine it," he declared in October 2024, encapsulating the Africa First ideology that drives his policies. The results of Burkina Faso's resource nationalism are already tangible. The increased revenue from gold mining has been reinvested into critical infrastructure and social programs, transforming the lives of ordinary Burkinabe. Roads are being paved, connecting rural communities to markets and services. Schools and hospitals are being constructed at an unprecedented rate, providing access to education and healthcare for millions who were previously underserved. Farmers, the backbone of Burkina Faso's economy, are being equipped with tractors and other modern agricultural tools, boosting productivity and food security. Youth employment programs have been rolled out, creating jobs and opportunities for a generation that has long been marginalized. These initiatives are not mere promises but concrete achievements, funded by the wealth that was once siphoned off by foreign corporations. Traoré's vision extends beyond economics. By prioritizing local content requirements and empowering Burkinabe workers and businesses, his government is fostering a sense of national pride and self-reliance. The nationalization of gold mines has also reduced the environmental devastation caused by unregulated mining, with stricter oversight ensuring that ecosystems are protected. Burkina Faso's transformation under Traoré is a powerful example of what African nations can achieve when they assert control over their resources and prioritize their people. Togo's interest in joining the Alliance of Sahelian States, AES, formed by Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger in September 2023, is a natural extension of its mining reforms and a bold step toward aligning with a movement that is redefining African geopolitics. The AES, established through the Liptako-Gourma Charter, is a response to the failures of ECOWAS, which has been criticized for its heavy-handed sanctions, neo-colonial ties, and inability to address the region's security and economic challenges. Led by Burkina Faso's Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Mali's Colonel Assimi Goïta, and Niger's General Abdourahmane Tiani, the AES is built on a shared ideology of Africa First, our country first, as articulated by Togo's Foreign Minister Robert Dussey. In a recent interview with Vox Africa, Dussey made a passionate case for Togo's alignment with the AES, emphasizing the shared vision of African self-determination. What binds us with the AES countries is the same ideology: Africa first, our country first. We share a common vision. We are African. We are Africanophones, he declared. Dussey's remarks reflect a growing sentiment among Togolese citizens, who, according to the minister, overwhelmingly support joining the AES. Ask the Togolese people, ordinary Togolese men and women, if Togo wants to join the AES, you will see their answer. They will tell you yes, he asserted. Dussey's critique of the global order was equally scathing. He deplored the lamentable role assigned to Africa by great powers, arguing that the continent has been reduced to a mere supplier of raw materials to serve Western interests. Africa is used only to serve the great powers. This is not normal. It is no longer admissible, he said. Sometimes, as Africans, I am even ashamed to see ordinary Africans, not only politicians, but also in their reasoning, their way of thinking and speaking, who have the impression that they need the other to exist. The African is afraid to assert himself. These words capture the essence of the AES's mission: to break free from the shackles of neo-colonialism and assert Africa's right to control its destiny. Togo's potential accession to the AES is a game-changer for the alliance, particularly because of its strategic coastal location. Unlike Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, which are landlocked, Togo has direct access to the sea through its port in Lomé, one of West Africa's most important trade hubs. This port could serve as a critical gateway for AES countries to export their natural resources, gold, uranium and others, to global markets without relying on ECOWAS member states like Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire or Senegal. By joining the AES, Togo could facilitate trade deals, attract foreign investment, and strengthen economic ties with non-African partners such as Russia, China, and Turkey, which have already forged partnerships with AES nations. The addition of Togo to the AES would significantly enhance the alliance's geopolitical leverage, positioning it as a formidable counterweight to ECOWAS. The AES's growing influence is already causing alarm within ECOWAS, which is grappling with the loss of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, who formally withdrew from the bloc in January 2024. The departure of these three nations, combined with Togo's potential exit, threatens to unravel ECOWAS's regional dominance. As Dussie noted, the AES is not dictated by Western powers, unlike ECOWAS, which has been criticised for its alignment with France and other former colonial powers. The prospect of Togo joining the AES, along with other countries like Chad, which has also expressed interest, could transform the alliance into a powerful organisation that prioritises African interests over external agendas. Chad's interest in the AES further underscores the alliance's growing appeal. Like Togo, Chad is motivated by a desire to address security concerns, particularly the spillover of extremist violence from the Sahel, and to assert greater control over its natural resources, including oil and uranium. The AES's direct approach to security, through coordinated military efforts and partnerships with non-Western powers like Russia, is seen as a more effective alternative to ECOWAS's sluggish interventions. Moreover, Chad's potential membership would expand the AES's reach into Central Africa, further challenging ECOWAS's relevance and signalling a broader shift toward African-led regional integration. Togo's mining reforms draw inspiration not only from Burkina Faso, but also from Niger, which has emerged as Africa's fastest-growing economy following its own bold moves to control its mineral wealth. Niger, one of the world's largest producers of uranium, has long been exploited by France, particularly through the state-owned company Orano, which operated the massive Imuraren and Arlit mines. For decades, Niger received only a fraction of the profits from its uranium, despite the resource's critical role in powering France's nuclear energy sector. The military government led by General Abdurrahmane Tiani has turned this dynamic on its head, revoking Orano's mining licenses and increasing the price of uranium to reflect its true market value. The results have been staggering. Niger's economy has surged, driven by increased revenue from uranium exports and strategic partnerships with countries like Russia and China. The government has reinvested these funds into infrastructure, education and healthcare, much like Burkina Faso. New roads, schools and hospitals are being built, and youth employment programs are providing opportunities for a population long neglected by Western-backed regimes. Niger's success demonstrates that African nations can break free from the resource curse by asserting control over their wealth and prioritizing national development. Togo's suspension of mining permits is a clear nod to Niger's approach. By halting new permits and revising its mining code, Togo aims to renegotiate contracts with foreign companies to ensure fairer terms, much like Niger did with its uranium industry. The Togolese government's emphasis on transparency, environmental protection, and local benefits mirrors Niger's reforms, which have prioritized the well-being of its citizens over the profits of foreign corporations. This alignment with AES countries underscores Togo's commitment to a broader movement of African assertiveness, one that is giving Western companies sleepless nights as they face the prospect of losing their stranglehold on the continent's resources. The actions of Togo, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are part of a larger Pan-African awakening, one that rejects the historical exploitation of the continent's resources and the neo-colonial structures that have perpetuated it. For centuries, Africa has been mapped as a source of raw materials, from the transatlantic slave trade to the colonial era to the modern scramble for critical minerals. The AES represents a radical departure from this paradigm, advocating for value addition, local processing, and equitable benefit sharing. Burkina Faso's nationalization of gold mines, Niger's control over uranium, and Togo's suspension of mining permits are not isolated events, but part of a coordinated effort to reclaim Africa's wealth. These countries are challenging the neoliberal policies imposed by institutions like the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, which have long prioritized foreign investment over local development. The World Bank's mining reform programs, which have provided billions in loans to African countries to liberalize their mining sectors, have often resulted in contracts that favor multinational corporations at the expense of local communities. Togo's decision to pause its mining sector is a direct rejection of this model, signaling a shift toward policies that prioritize African sovereignty and self-determination. The AES's growing influence is also reshaping Africa's security landscape. The alliance's Mutual Defence Pact, modelled on NATO, ensures that an attack on one member is an attack on all, providing a robust framework for regional security. By expelling French troops and forging partnerships with Russia, China and Turkey, AES countries are diversifying their security and economic ties, reducing their dependence on Western powers. Mali, for example, has deployed Russian mercenaries from the Africa Corps, formerly Wagner Group, to secure its mining concessions, while Burkina Faso and Niger have followed suit. These partnerships have enabled AES countries to protect their resources while building infrastructure and creating jobs. The potential addition of Togo and Chad to the AES is a direct threat to ECOWAS, which is already reeling from the withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. ECOWAS's heavy-handed response to the coups in these countries, imposing economic sanctions and threatening military intervention, has backfired, fueling anti-ECOWAS sentiment and galvanizing support for the AES. The bloc's alignment with Western powers, particularly France, has undermined its credibility, with many Africans viewing it as a tool of neo-colonialism. Togo's strategic position as a coastal state makes its potential departure from ECOWAS particularly alarming for the bloc. Lomé's port could provide the AES with a critical trade route, reducing the alliance's reliance on ECOWAS members and enhancing its economic autonomy. This move would further isolate ECOWAS, which is already struggling to maintain its relevance in the face of growing regional discontent. The AES's visa-free travel policy for ECOWAS citizens, announced recently, is a strategic olive branch, signalling that the alliance seeks to strengthen African ties while rejecting Western influence. The AES's appeal extends beyond Togo and Chad. Countries like Guinea, which has also experienced a coup and expressed interest in resource nationalism, are watching closely. The alliance's success in leveraging mineral wealth for development is a powerful incentive for other African nations to join. By prioritizing economic sovereignty, environmental protection, and local empowerment, the AES is offering a model of regional integration that resonates with Africans tired of external domination. The rise of the AES and the assertive policies of leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traoré are causing significant unease in Western capitals. Traoré, in particular, has become a symbol of African defiance, challenging the hegemony of Western mining companies and their governments. His nationalization of gold mines and outspoken criticism of foreign exploitation have made him a target of Western media, which often portray him as a destabilizing force. Yet, for millions of Africans, Traoré is a hero, a leader who is delivering tangible results and restoring national pride. Western companies like Barrick Gold and Resolute Mining have faced significant setbacks in Burkina Faso and Mali, with share prices plummeting after detentions and permit revocations. Niger's decision to strip Orano of its uranium mining rights has similarly rattled France, which relied on Niger for a significant portion of its nuclear fuel. Togo's suspension of mining permits adds to this growing pressure, signaling that African nations are no longer willing to accept exploitative contracts. The AES's partnerships with Russia, China and Turkey further complicate the West's position, as these countries offer alternative sources of investment and security support without the strings attached by Western powers. The West's sleepless nights are not just about lost profits, but about the broader implications of Africa's awakening. The AES's success could inspire other African nations to follow suit, leading to a continent-wide shift toward resource nationalism and self-determination. This prospect is particularly alarming for countries like France, which have long relied on Africa's resources to fuel their economies. The increased price of uranium in Niger, for example, has forced France to confront the reality of paying market rates for a resource it once acquired for pennies. Togo's suspension of mining permits and its interest in joining the AES mark a pivotal moment in Africa's struggle for economic and political sovereignty. By following the lead of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, Togo is asserting its right to control its resources and chart its own path. The AES, with its Africa First ideology, is providing a blueprint for a new West African order, one that prioritizes the needs of its people over the interests of foreign powers. The alliance's growing influence, bolstered by Togo's potential membership and the interest of countries like Chad, is throwing ECOWAS into a state of panic and challenging the global status quo. As Minister Robert Dussey so eloquently stated, Africans are tired of being afraid to assert themselves. The AES is giving voice to this sentiment, offering a vision of a continent that is proud, self-reliant, and free from the lamentable role assigned to it by great powers. Togo's decision to suspend mining permits and explore AES membership is not just a national policy shift, but a clarion call for all Africans to rise up, reclaim their wealth, and build a future that reflects their true potential. The revolution is here, and it is unstoppable.